everybody. Did you ever have that uncle remind you of Eddie at a Christmas vacation when he walks into the bar and he goes, "Hey, these three guys walk into a bar and everybody in your family digs for carpet because they know an embarrassing joke is about to happen." I happen to know the other two guys of those three guys that walk into a bar. My name's Stu Turley, President and CEO of the Sandstone Group. This is the three podcasters, and the other two podcasters are legends in their own mind. I've got David Blackmon coming around the corner. David is a Substack author. He is the podcast host for the Energy Transition and the Energy Question, and it's going through the roof. How are you?
Oh, I'm just thrilled to be here, man. It's just another beautiful day in Texas.
Could you be a little more disingenuous with that? I'm thrilled to be here.
I am thrilled to be
Holy
here.
smokes. We got to meet at the bar, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. And then we have he is a big dog over there at Pecos Operating. He is Pecos Operating Big Dog. No, wait a minute. He is the Crude Truth podcast host, a legend also in his own mind, Rey Trevino. And I mean, this guy is an animal. Welcome, RT.
Oh, thank you for having me back on. I'm excited about it. Stu, David, I hope everybody's having a wonderful week as we get ready to kick off the holiday season, as they like to say.
Oh my gosh. I don't have any Christmas shopping done. Oh, I never do.
Me either.
All my DJ holiday fans out there will know what that was about. Don't you worry.
Oh. Okay, that went right by both David and I. We're like, whoa! I do that, but for my podcast listeners, I would knock my hat clean off. I got a 10-gallon hat.
Yes, you do. Hey, Stu, before we even get started, I want to just do a shout out to David Blackmon. I just released a wonderful episode on the Crude Truth with the wonderful, true environmental savior,
yes,
Megan Lapp. And David is the one that introduced us. So I just got to say thank you so much to David Blackmon for that right then and there.
See, now you're telling tales. Stu's going to correct you on that.
Megan is a rock star, and she has been on all three of our podcasts. And I'll tell you,
Stu had the first contact with her.
No,
let's give credit where credit's due.
Credit is due is off of LinkedIn. And I just want to say to you two guys, our three podcasts are going nuts in three different markets in the energy space. It is really bizarre. And so when you take a look at it, if you're an industry expert and you want to talk about energy between an EMP operator, a Oklahoma State graduate goob, and then you have David, who is a world-renowned author. The three of us have different reach and wide different reach. So it is great fun to have everybody on our three different podcasts.
It really is.
All right. And, I'm just her on the way that she's been able to really champion true environmental awareness. We got people out there, I'm not going to mention any names of people from Germany or Austria that are claiming to be these greenies when the true greenies understand how important oil and gas is, but also how dangerous offshore wind farms are. So,
hey, David, with him mentioning Germany and the green weenies over there, you want to kick us off to your energy absurdity today? It was absolutely a hoot.
Yeah. So 2 weeks ago, I wrote a story at the Daily Caller warning everyone that we're about to start seeing a wave of bailouts for the big offshore wind companies in the U.S., Germany, the UK. And on Thursday evening, or really Friday morning in Germany, the German government announced the first such bailout, a $16 billion deal with Siemens AG, I think is what they call their offshore wind unit. And, this is a company that's been an industrial force in Germany for well over a century and has had to be bailed out I don't know how many times before. So this is kind of a habit of the German government. and they've gotten themselves in financial difficulties. They can't finance their production lines of these big wind turbines on their own, and so the German government's going to have to bail them out with low interest loan guarantees that the banks won't finance. And so that's just the first example. All, as I said in the piece I wrote, Germany has been the germination point of every awful energy related idea for the last 30 years. And so it's only appropriate that they kick off this latest awful idea of bailing out the wind companies.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, but it's to be expected, and we can expect Democrats here in the United States and liberals over in the UK to take exactly the same actions as their own wind industry begins to fail. As we see with Ørsted, I think Ørsted's the biggest wind developer globally, a Danish company. They used to be an oil and gas company and a highly profitable one, but now they've gone into the wind business, and they're trending up very transparently, trending towards bankruptcy, and so they're going to have to be bailed out by multiple countries as well.
Hey, let me ask you this, guys. As the narrative, we saw this last month when the UK prime minister says, hey, we need to kind of push out for just a little bit. He didn't even want to cancel the energy transition. Do you remember this, David? He just kind of goes, we're going to delay it 5 years. Pow, 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 pow. We talked about it on the podcast. I mean, the heads were exploding, and that triggered all of these events. It seems like that was the catalyst.
Yeah, and dominoes have been falling, haven't they?
They have. And then the wind bids going off, David and RT, that you guys have covered on your Substack, all these things are triggering. And David, you called this one right. I think the more the green narrative is failing, the more they're going to go wild on their policies. And we're about to see some even more devastation, because when a wolf is in the corner, they go nuts. And I think they're now realizing the only reason for a not transition is to take the country, global economy down. Speaking of conspiracy theories, I mean, it's the only reason.
Yeah, and you're going to see similar things happening with the EV industry too. I mean, Ford and GM are losing their shirts on their electric vehicle segments, and you're going to start seeing moves to bail out those companies too, because the thing is, when you look at what's happening with U.S. automakers, what they're doing is responding to government subsidies and government mandates. The government is driving them into non-profitability. It's all very foreseeable. It's all inevitable, and you're going to pay for it, folks. If you keep voting for these Democrats, you're going to keep paying for these things. This is inevitable. It's not a guess.
With that being said, David, do you see that once again that we could actually have our government bail out the auto industry again just because of all the EVs that are going on and all this EV
absolutely.
Motion? Yeah.
Absolutely. And China's beginning to flood the Western world now with these cheap electric vehicles that are just as high quality. The Chinese have figured out the formula, and they're able to mass produce them in such quantities that they can now export them all over the world. And they're going to crowd the domestic automakers out of the business into bankruptcy. And the federal government, as long as it's run by Democrats, is going to have the impulse of trying to bail those companies out. And so that's where we're going to head. It's the easiest thing to predict in the world. And, David, I wish Vegas would give odds on it so I can go play some bets.
Let me ask let me ask both of you this, because I see last year I was on the phone or the podcast with Ben Samuels. I even said there's going to be a great awakening. This is back in 2022, a great awakening in 2023. We're seeing that great awakening coming around the corner. People are getting tired of 1% of the world's population controlling all of these people. And so I think that with the EVs, people are backing off and not just buying them anymore. Do you see, RT, that money is going to start talking?
I'm sitting here at a Black Rifle they're definitely not a sponsor of the show, but I saw one of those Ford Lightning sitting out here up front this morning, and I would have thought this was the last place I'd see one of those Ford Lightnings. So if this is a great awakening, I think this is more of just people kind of stretching just a little bit and barely waking up right now.
Yep.
The automakers are obviously too big to fail. I get that. I understand it. I'm not for it, but I understand it. But these wind farms that we may have to bail out here in America one day, they're not too big to fail. What that boils down to is other people have invested in these that have interest, may or may not, in the government, maybe not, no proof, and they need to make sure that they recoup their investment dollars on these wind farms here in America that are not producing enough energy. And here we are, all three. Well, most of us here are in the great state of Texas right now. David and I are, and we produce the most wind energy in America, and yet it still doesn't do any good. And by the way, we also produce the most oil in America. Go figure.
Oh, just as an EMP operator, David, he just happened to throw that out there.
Well,
and
well, he should, yes.
Well, speaking of oil, I'll lead into it, guys. Here we are on a wonderful Friday, and oil this week dropped down to 3-month lows at about $74 a barrel. And I know in our pre-production meeting, David said it the best way, that right now we have zero fear in oil speculation. I mean, here we are. There's actually a true war in the Middle East right now, and oil prices are going down, for goodness sakes. You guys, I said it last week on the show, and this is, I think, the true calm before the storm, and seeing high oil prices. But I got no proof.
It could be. It's phenomenal that it's all happening as demand continues to rise. If demand was actually falling globally, then you could see a justification for the price drop. But demand's continuing to go up, even in China, where we keep seeing all these stories about China's economy failing, and demand for everything just keeps rising in the Chinese economy, including for oil. So I don't know what's happening in the markets, but the absence of any fear premium at all is pretty extraordinary given what's happening around the world.
David, I want to ask both of your opinion on this. Michael and I covered this last night on our podcast, or the other night. The EIA had a server problem again with their data. And they had that last year, and it came out when they had a server data problem. They were manipulating the data for political reasons, and that was proved. So we had another server problem, and the API came out. And the API came out and gave us some, instead of a 300,000 barrel draw, they had a increase of a couple million barrels, increase in supply. Then you add in these other things going on. Now they say they can't figure it out. I have privy some very large investment houses, and they were all standing around scratching their heads on these calls, and we're all sitting there going, something is going on. And I'm not going to tell my sources, something's going on. And I'm telling you right now, our government is mucking this up. I don't have the exact data chip that it happened on, but I'm not the one calling for it. These big folks up in Wall Street are calling for it, and they're going, something's afoot.
I'll say this. I wouldn't mind trying to see what some of our listeners have to say about the oil prices being low, and kind of what their ideas are, because that's really all it is right now that we have are our ideas on why prices continue to be low when Russia, a major oil producer, is at war with Ukraine. And in the Middle East right now, you've got literally the heart of the Middle East at war, and everybody is just should be on pins and needles right now, and we're not, as far as the price of oil goes. So again, I said it last week. I mean, everybody that stock up on their gasoline while they can, buy an extra little bit here and there or something. I don't know.
Well, it's definitely a good time to fill up. Gas prices have gone down 30 cents a gallon, in the last 3 weeks, I think. So, it costs less to fill up now, at least. And, so for consumers, it's all good leading into Christmas. And if the market's being manipulated, maybe that's why, to help boost consumer spending for Christmas time.
Let me ask this from both of you guys that are experts. And I'm just a wannabe, so that's why I want to hang with you guys more in the bar and kind of like get your knowledge. But John Denver, when he and I were growing up together, he grew up, and I'd sit there and watch him play his guitar. We all wanted to play football, and he'd just kind of wander off, and he was weird. He made a lot more money than I ever did. But do you remember in the 70s when he went back and he had the oil crisis? He got in trouble because in Aspen, he had a big gasoline tank under his house. And he was hoarding gasoline during the embargo. And here he is, a big environmentalist. And there's a real story to this, but anyway. So
well, he's a smart environmentalist.
I love he was a cool dude. I enjoyed my last conversation with him was pretty cool. But anyway, so when we sit back and kind of go, what are your thoughts on the SPR? Because now the Biden administration this past week said they're going to start putting bids out for the SPR. They released, David, and I think you've talked about this. I believe it was 318 million barrels they released out of the SPR. They said, oh, we're buying back. We bought 4 million. For our podcast listeners, I'm leaning into the mic like Biden. 4 million. He's my, they released 318 million. I heard the other day, and I'm trying to verify this, that with our salt domes and our natural storage, where a lot of this is coming apart, because those domes, when they are stored, the oil stored there, they deteriorate. So we may not even be able to fill it back up to where it was. I'm having to go fact check that.
I have no idea. It sounds like we're going to be using some pretty salty oil here soon, huh? So the walls are crumbling into the oil that's left in there because of the lack of pressure.
Yeah, which means whatever's there is maybe really unusable. So I'm trying to go fact check this.
Well, that wouldn't be good.
No, and it just means what little left is like, that's like trying to, have you ever spilled coffee on your keyboard and then you try to go get a paper towel that is a cheap one from one of those bathrooms that it's not a Bounty picker upper, and you try to spill that around and all it does is move your coffee around? No, that's exactly what they're going to try to do when they get the rest of that oil out of the SPR. It's not going to be available.
Well, with the price of West Texas Intermediate as we sit here today, I think it's down at the upper end of their price range for refilling the SPR. So maybe they'll actually do it a little bit. We can always hope, but I doubt it. I doubt that any of that's sincere. But we'll see. Maybe they are sincere about it this time.
I don't know that our press secretary for the White House, whatever, I don't think she can spell SPR.
Nope, not touching that one, Stu. But I do think the Strategic Petroleum Reserve does need to be refilled. But unfortunately, right now, we have an administration that's not seeing that as an urgency. And again, the price of oil shows that it's not an urgency right now as well. So, hopefully we can get it filled up, but filling it up less than 1%, that doesn't do anything for us.
No. So it's kind of fun.
It's not fun. It's not fun at all. It's a tremendous abuse of a national security tool that the president engaged in 2022 for purely political reasons. And, it's just one of many ways that this administration shows it doesn't really care about energy security or national security. And that's a dangerous thing for all of us.
Oh, RT, what were you going to say before David so rudely ignored you?
I had to demagogue a little bit. So go ahead, RT.
No. I think you said it perfectly, and but you do mention 2022. Here we are. We had elections this week, and Democrats won across the nation again this week. So there's a lot going on. I think we have a generation that has been brainwashed. I know that I've seen it firsthand, where people go to college and they come back completely different. And it is just a shame that we're at this point in the world. I believe in sharing. Sharing is caring, but that doesn't also mean that I need to be able to share everything that I have in my wallet with everybody equally. We all work hard, and I think the harder you work, the more you get out of it. I do believe in luck, but I also believe luck also means a lot of hard work. So, it's just crazy the way we saw these elections roll here this past week in November 2023. Price economics was not on the table for some weird reason, and our economy sucks right now. Our inflation is still horrific. And the price of gasoline, and here we are celebrating, it's down 30 cents. Let's all be honest. It was $1 less than where it was today on election night 2020. So, here we are celebrating, it went down 30 cents when it was $1 more down with the previous administration.
Well, you talk about luck, and my favorite football coach, Darrell K. Royal, the witty son of a gun from Oklahoma, who came to Texas and coached there for 20 years, had a famous saying about luck. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So your point about working hard, creating luck was really well taken, and I think he was 100% right about that, actually. I think I put Stu to sleep with that one.
No, you didn't. I was thinking, how can I think of
this
something smart ass to say when it was really right on?
Well, it was profound. I was quoting somebody else, so it was fairly profound.
No. Hey, David, I just want to give a shout out to your writings on the Telegraph, the Daily Caller, your Substack. Holy smokes, Batman. Do you sleep?
I do, but I don't sleep enough. I got to do something about that. I'm only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, and by about noon, I'm pretty worn out.
I can imagine. So your crayons, I don't know how you stay up in crayons, dude. There's no spell check in your crayons either. So I don't know how. RT,
there is.
Yeah, what do you have coming around the corner this week, RT?
Oh, but got a lot of great episodes I want to get released here on the Crude Truth before the end of the year. Just kind of working out in the field, playing with the weather. November and December are always kind of rainy months out in the oil and gas here in North Texas. So going to play in the mud a little bit. I'm excited about that. Got some real good end of year Crude Truth episodes coming out. Got some great motivational people coming on. Got some great economics individuals coming on, and even have towards the end of the year, Dr. Ed Ireland, who's a Substack in LinkedIn, has just. I know we've mentioned him before on 3 podcasters. I'll have that one as well. But with 2023 wrapping up, I just feel like we need a lot of positivity in the world right now, and so I've got several great positive interviews coming up. I know I've got another one with a great life coach named Christy Kearns. And who would have ever thought that we need just people in our corner helping us out every day, just helping us be more positive and motivation. So just very excited about what's coming around the corner.
David, what's your number to give to her?
Yeah, I could use that actually. Let's see here. I've got a podcast I just dropped with Jackie Daly, who's fantastic, the host of the Jackie Daly Show. We're talking about the RFK Jr. campaign and why it's a threat to the energy business, and some other stuff, which she's really an expert on. Got Todd Royal talking about energy literacy and his efforts in that regard. That one's going to come up next week. Paul Hicken, I just interviewed. He's the editor-in-chief for the Telegraph over in London. Really smart guy about energy, and a lot of insight into what's going on in the UK related to energy. So we got a lot of good stuff coming. And then finally, have an interview upcoming with Emily Head, an analyst at Embarrass, who just put out a great report about how the Barnett Shale, that was such a big natural gas play here in North Texas, is about to become the next big oil and gas play in the
Wow.
Permian Basin. It extends all the way down there. The Barnett and the Woodford Shale both extend all the way out into the Permian, and it's going to be the next big deal in the Permian Basin.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
Hey, I'll tell you, I'm going to brag for a half sec. You guys are going to get the introduction for Steve Reese. His Reese Consulting has audited well over 5% of the natural gas in the U.S. through his consulting firm, which is billions of cubic gas. And then he also has got a thing going on in the Germany for an LNG facility as well. So you guys are going to get teed up for that. And then also I'm getting to interview Mark Masters this afternoon. Mark helped Tucker and Rush and all these other guys get put together, and Ingram. So that's going to be a fun one. We'll get you guys introduced
cool
to him as well too. So anyway, we got a lot of great interviewees coming around. Since there's 3 lacking interviewers, we need all the good interviewees we can get.
Exactly.
With that, guys, hey, this is the 3 podcasters walk into a bar, and as always, reach out to any of us. We would love to hear from you. And as RT said just a minute ago, we want to hear what your thoughts were on that. Have a great one. We'll see you guys next time.
Adios.